So, hi everybody. We welcome you on behalf of the organizers, to the Financial Inclusion Week. My name is Natalie Vergara, and I'm head of platform at Mercy Core Ventures. We're an early stage impact investor investing in startups, investing and supporting startups working on financial inclusion and climate resilience in emerging markets. We're really excited about our session today. We're going to be talking about adapting to a new reality, climate risks, and opportunity for startups working in financial inclusion. And I have the pleasure here to have three of the founders in our portfolio. So I really like to welcome today Ruth, founder and CEO of BitMama, making cross-border payments for everyone accessible. Radhika, co-founder and CEO from Mondovo, making investments in local and global financial markets accessible, secure, and affordable for all. And Brian, co-founder and CEO from Power, empowering the workforce to take control of their financial well-being with tools to pay, save, borrow, and protect. We really have each of these startups providing different products for financial inclusion and resilience. So quite excited to hear about them today. So really the first question that I would like to kick off us, it's giving them the opportunity to describe exactly what is it that they do. So please, Ruth, can I ask you to start by describing what is it that your company does and how do you contribute to financial inclusion?
Hi everyone. Hi Natalie. Thank you. My name is Ruth, and I'm CEO at Bitmama Inc. What we do at Bitmama is we enable cross-border transactions or facilitate cross-border transactions via the blockchain, and we do this and also enable financial inclusion by enabling access for cross-border payments for people that don't have access to bank accounts, or ordinarily they wouldn't have access to these services normally, right? So we help. I guess the word I want to use is off ramp, but we help off ramp also to last mile distribution for these cross border payments.
Awesome. Thank you. So really making cross-border payments visible. And Radhika, can you also share us a bit more? What is it that Ondovo does and how do you contribute towards financial inclusion?
Thank you. So, Natalie, as you know, we allow the everyday Kenyan to take the money that they work really hard and invest it in a simple, easy way, allowing them to achieve their financial goals. So, for example, we have a typical client, a nurse. She works really hard for her children, and she wants to give her children a better education. But of course, her not having financial education, she's come to Dovu, where we provide her with how do you get started on your investment journey, how do you plan, budget, etc. And then we give her the tool to actually take the money she's worked really hard, invest it so it compounds and grows. And this means in the next 7 years, she'll be able to send her children to better schools, and it gives her access and more knowledge into how to manage her day-to-day finances as well, because as part of our education, that's what she's learning. So really, we empower people to achieve their financial goals and achieve financial freedom.
Awesome. So yeah, I love what you do. I'm a fan of all of you. And Brian, tell us a bit more, how does Power contributes towards financial inclusion?
Great. Thank you, Natalie. Excited to be here today. So actually, the long form of our company's name is Power Financial Wellness. And so we don't talk as much about financial inclusion, but we talk about financial wellness, financial well-being, financial health. So not so much can I get a wallet or a bank account, but am I improving my overall well-being? And so that's the foundation of Power itself. And what we do is we're a fintech platform headquartered in Nairobi, Kenya, but now with presence in 3 other countries in East and Southern Africa. And our goal is to provide really a holistic set of financial services for the workforce. So that can be full-time employees in government or private companies, through to contract workers, blue collar labor, and the gig economy, and more increasingly so sort of informal markets. And so we help workers access more affordable and appropriate credit, help them save and invest for the future, and also connect them to really affordable insurance on the health side of things. And so trying to help across multiple areas where individuals might be struggling from a financial resilience, financial well-being point of view. Thank you.
It's awesome. And I like how even if you've chosen like different words at the end, like even the financial well-being and wellness, even it goes a step beyond of just inclusion, but it's more how well prepared you are. So that's awesome. And so, yeah, the three companies that we have here, Power, Ondovo, and Bitmama, are really more targeted towards this financial inclusion or financial wellness. So yeah, when I invited you to say, hey, come to a panel about climate change, I got a few reactions. So, oh, climate adaptation and opportunities and risk from climate change. I know it's not the immediate link that we think when we're talking about financial inclusion and products as savings, credits, investments, or cross-border payment. So like really the next question is, what do you think are the main challenges that how climate change can affect your businesses and the users that we serve? Because as we were talking, and we know that climate change is really mainstreaming in a lot of the parts of the economies, but when you're targeting and working with the type of users that you're working or the business that we're running, maybe this is not the first thought. But so now that you're thinking a bit more about it, what are the main challenges from climate change that can affect your business and your users? And I can start with you, Radhika. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And Natalie, like I mentioned earlier, it's a really interesting concept that whilst I was working at BlackRock was all the craze in 2018, 2019. And one of the key risks, because we help people take the money that they work really hard, invest it in capital markets. So we allow them to buy the S&P 500 index. So you're buying pieces of companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Tesla, and the likes. And one of the key risks this poses is that climate change can actually impact the profitability of these companies. So for us, actually, there's a direct impact on us monitoring, how does climate change affect the companies that our customers are investing in? But with that impact, there's also opportunity. So in the investment space, when I was at BlackRock, there was a big craze where a lot of pension funds took a lot of their money and put it towards climate change investment strategies. So these were companies that were looking to promote and support the climate risk that's there and mitigate any of the risks that are there. And what we found with our Gen Z customers on our platform is that they're very in tune with all the concepts that come around climate change. So that's protecting the environment, sustainability, governance. And for them, we have found opportunities to actually offer investment funds and opportunities that actually combat that. And it makes investing more fun and a bit more gamified in the sense that they're investing in things that they believe in. And then, of course, lastly, I would say is regulation change. I'm yet to see how that will impact our business, but as a result of the changes that we will experience, there will definitely be different ways that businesses conduct their day-to-day businesses, because regulation will come in that will make or force them to do things differently, and that in a result could impact innovation. So really excited to say, okay, what does this mean in the regulatory space? And even perhaps for us, one of the laws I know that is being passed in the States is that as a pension fund, you need to have 5% of your investment strategy in line with ESG, which is environmental sustainability and governance, and it's a mandatory impact. It hasn't come across to retail investors yet, but again, regulatory change can happen, and we as a fund manager would have to then offer our customers with a opportunity to invest in a responsible way. So that's all from my side.
Awesome. So really tracking the companies, the users, and then the regulation. I love it. How about you, Ruth? What do you see are the main challenges of climate change that can affect how your business runs and the type of users you're targeting?
Yes, so in terms of climate change affecting our business, we've seen where people get to lose their jobs or are being almost pushed to not having anything to do. So this results to people basically like depending on remittance, though it's a good thing, but it's a good thing for me because it makes business. But at the end of the day, people don't have livelihoods to continue getting their jobs done. They get to lose their houses, they get to lose a lot of things like over here in Nigeria, when it's the rainy season, we get to see huge amount of floods. Now, when those floods happen, we see that typical SMEs that could have been or would be our customers would now be struggling to make like to transport their goods and services from one place to the other. So that way, once they are not in business or they can't even export their goods and services due to climate change, that affects how that affects our own business because these businesses don't get to either transact or perform a transaction with us due to the fact that maybe their farms were flooded or they couldn't move things from one place to the other to get it to the next point for them to be able to sell their goods and services. So that affects us a lot in a way. So I think for us, and going back to what Radhika said, it's also about policies. It's about the government stepping in and trying to see how we can combat this kind of climate change. I would say over here, it's like a very huge one because there's a particular dam that gets opened in Cameroon. And once that dam is open, like over 6 to 7 states in the whole of Nigeria gets flooded and is really massive and really bad. And basically, no commerce happens, and people have to wait for the water to come down by itself before commercial activities continue. So that's the way it basically affects us.
And I really like how you framed, Ruth, that in the end, climate change is going to pose so many threats and opportunities, and your business is really about helping people move their money from one place to another in a easy and secured
Yeah.
way. So yeah, that's really interesting. Thankful that we have businesses that are working towards that. And how about you, Brian? What do you think are the main challenges of climate change and how do they affect your business and the users that you're serving?
Sure. And I think to start, and probably my initial reaction when I was joining or asked to join this panel was, is climate really impacting my day to day? And I really had to think about it. But maybe the first thing I'd say is we should probably recognize that not every fintech is directly impacted by climate change. But as you go a bit deeper, I think all of us are indirectly impacted. And so prior to founding Power, I had worked in financial services and microfinance and some retail banking across Africa for over a decade. And what we saw was that about 65% of working individuals would spend all of their earnings in the first 5 days of the month. And we started looking more and more at just financial health. And that means someone's ability to cope with risks, to manage day to day, and to save or invest for the future. And unfortunately, as that was getting measured in Kenya, where we're based, 2016, 39% of Kenyans were financially healthy. And by 2021, that number was 17%. So greater than 80% of individuals are struggling to make ends meet. And climate change, has a direct impact on them, which will obviously have a direct impact on our business. And that's why we created multiple sort of verticals or modules to our product. Short-term credit to help manage some of those risks, short-term savings and longer-term savings, for liquidity, but also planning for the future to avoid some of the shocks, longer term manageable debt, and then the insurance side to help reduce some of the unexpected risks that can happen to individuals. And at this stage in our journey, we're sort of we're segmenting our customers across different industries. So that could be manufacturing, tourism, mobility, agriculture. We've just onboarded several flower farms. So lots of farmers onto our platform. We have several coconut farmers as well, using our platform. And so it's having different effects in different segments of our customer base. And fortunately, working with partners like Mercy Corps Ventures to help build kind of this theory of change. How are we improving the lives of our customers? And where are they, facing challenges or having direct impact? And for some of our segments, I think that will be directly through climate change.
Yeah, no, Brian, it's been really helpful what we were discussing before to work with you on developing this theory of change, because I think that as you mentioned, it's not first of thought on how companies providing investments, cross-border payments, credits, and so forth are related to climate change. But as you mentioned, when you go a bit deeper, like climate change touches us all. And it's maybe not something that we need to be worried like every day, but it's something that it's important to recognize and understand, to be prepared and understand like what are the actual impacts. So that's awesome. And I really loved your honest reaction on what's the connection. So following on that trend, I want to ask you also, Brian, we were talking also before, joining live on how do we see this connection between financial inclusion, or let's call it financial well-being, and climate adaptation or climate resilience. Can you talk a bit more on how you, Brian, and Power sees that connection between financial resilience and inclusion and climate adaptation and resilience?
Yeah, I mean, we sort of look at it as one and the same. Sort of, if I'm financially resilient, if I've built, that nest egg to help avoid some of the shocks that climate change could bring, or if I have the availability of low cost short-term credit to just get me through and sort of bridge a tough time, then I as a customer can be more resilient to some of the impacts or shocks that could come my way. Really, I mean, I think across the 4 modules that we offer, those are the key things. Is we see people, the number one thing, people are trying to pay school fees. People are trying just to get to the end of the month and buy groceries, and the total cost of living is increasing. Macroeconomic factors are impacting all of the individuals on our platform. The net take-home pay is reducing. And so how can you educate people to budget, to spend less than they earn, to maintain some savings if possible, to leverage debt, but just for productive purposes, and to take into account the value of insurance. Those things are critical, and education is a really important component of what we do to make sure that people are essentially resilient, whatever might come. I mean, when COVID hit, people weren't ready for that shock or losing that income that month. Most individuals didn't have more than a few weeks of money set aside. And so whether it's climate or some other global event, we look at Power as trying to solve holistically for any shocks that might come.
That's great. How about you, Radhika? How do you see this connection between financial inclusion and climate adaptation and resilience?
Yeah, so I couldn't agree more with what Brian said. Financial inclusion leads to resilient. And in our context at Dovu, because we are helping you save towards your future, when you have unexpected bumps along the journey, you can actually draw upon your wealth that you're saving towards. And so what that allows you to do, it gives you financial flexibility to actually go out there and take out insurance. So say, because you're a farmer, and as a result, I mean, I don't know if we have many farmers on our platform, but just an example, if you're a farmer and you are now educated on climate change, and you can already see the impact of what's happening in your crop, you can take the money that you've saved and invested and take out insurance. And so it's making you more financially resilient, which is the key thing that we're looking at. And very similarly to what Brian said, a lot of people historically did not have a healthy emergency fund or a runway, which they could rely on if they lost their job or something like a pandemic happened. And what we're doing is helping you build towards that, so that in case there is another market event as such, you actually have some savings you can rely on, and that gives you financial resilience. And the more you work at this, you just become better at managing market stresses and things that are out of your control. So there is a clear connection between financial inclusion, climate change, and resilience.
Yeah, totally. I loved how you both touch on this, like, yeah, emergency funding, but the education aspect also of just knowing, like, why do you need it and for what do you need it, and that it's not only to spend it. So that's very critical. And how about you, Ruth? How do you see this connection between financial inclusion and climate adaptation and resilience?
Okay. So in our own case, we see this as helping people. Like they said, we don't really help people save, but we realize that currencies are being devalued. We have the naira being devalued, Kenyan shilling being devalued. Things are getting harder for people to meet up with. So in terms of climate being resilient, I guess the first thing we're doing first of all is like making sure we have that seamless infrastructure bridge where people can be able to seamlessly make payments. If something was to happen today, you can be able to get payments, whether it's from investors or any other person, to be able to mitigate whatever climate risk a business or an individual is facing. Also, in terms of I mentioned savings, right? Like saving your currency or your savings in US dollars. And as Brian mentioned, when COVID hit, many people didn't know what to do. Many people didn't have savings, and they didn't know like the next steps to take. And with that, the economic conditions doesn't even make it better. So if people are also educated a bit more on how to also treat the climate better, and how to be able to mitigate certain risk or putting certain harmful gases or objects in the environment, people will get to know how to be able to adapt more to the whole climate resilience.
Thank you. Yeah, indeed, to be able to make those payments at last minute and that the infrastructure it's working. And as I imagine, yeah, time has been super fast in this 30-minute chat, but we do have a question from Lawrence at sitting in Kampala. And basically his question, it's really on what are the challenges for providers offering climate responsive financial products? And then he also asked, how can they overcome those challenges so that they can provide scalable and sustainable climate responsive financial products? And yeah, I don't know if any Brian, Radhika, or Ruth like want to take a stab on what do you see are the challenges, or even if you think it's different than what the challenges of any financial products.
I can sort of try and approach it from how Power looks at it. The challenge that I've seen is, and actually specifically looking at some of the farmers that we're engaging, is from year to year, yields and rainfall and those things are unpredictable. And so, but we're really excited about some of the new partnerships and some of the digital infrastructure that we're seeing come into play. So for us to overcome some of the challenges of packaging the right, say, lending product or saving solution is leveraging strategic partnerships to enable us to gather data and information on historical payment flows, and then also finding partners like, for example, Pula, which is doing that weather-based index insurance, and using those types of tools to package an insurance product for a farmer, or to leverage historical payment flows. For example, Unilever paying tea farmers digitally now rather than cash-based, and using that to determine sort of the future potential earnings of individuals, the future yields and outcomes for our customers. So partnerships are critical, and leveraging some of these digital payment rails will really help to overcome some of the challenges in building new financial products for the segments that are suffering the most from climate change today.
And I think the other thing, yes, I was just going to add to that. I think a lot of providers have a big task ahead of them of educating their end users around the challenges faced by climate change. So there's a famous that, they have to pay the school fees. They have to actually educate people about those challenges, so then they can make their products more scalable and sustainable. And that within itself can be quite difficult.
And I loved how this segued to basically my last question and closing remarks. And I wanted to ask each of you, so really to close this discussion with, like, what are your final remarks or call to action? And particularly, I know that we have some investors, donors, and financial institutions in the audience. So it's really, what's our call to action, or how can we work greater together to allow companies such as Ondobu, Brian, Power, Bitmama, and other companies working in early stage financial inclusion to scale and to make sure that you can provide these products to a greater number of people so that they can increase their financial well-being and their climate adaptation. So yeah, how can we make it more possible for you to not only reach thousands of people, but millions and millions of people? Any thoughts on that one as a closing remark? And I'll leave it open to anyone that wants to grab it first.
Maybe mine will be short. Is just things that can help us unlock new opportunities is actually sort of kind of grant funding to help us start experimenting in new segments that we know need support. And so that would be the immediate thought from my side. And there was one question in the group just about cost of living in Kenya being so high, and how can we get more people to save when cost of living has gone up. I mean, that's a really challenging one. But new technologies like Ndovu, like Bitmama, like Power help reduce a lot of the friction and improve access to these things. And so educating individuals on what's out there, new tools to help improve their financial well-being, to reduce some of the costs and overhead and painful interactions, and streamlining savings, or getting less expensive credit are great tools and companies to help us achieve those things in very tough markets and environments.
Yeah, and I would just say, in addition to grant funding, in terms of allowing us to actually go out there and learn firsthand. I think a lot of these organizations spend a lot of time and resources in understanding the market. So it's almost giving us the opportunity to learn from you in terms of the data that you're gathering and how that's impacting our business models across the different sectors and different verticals. I think that's super important. And then lastly, being able to share them in a timely manner, coupled with grant funding, where we can go and then help you also further build your research and case studies on what's actually happening in the market, what's happening on the ground, vis-a-vis the theories that we all come up with. So that would be really, really great. And I think if we build more sustainable ESG type focused businesses, Power, Bitmama, and Dover will be around for the next 20, 25 years. So it's, yeah, we can do with all the help you can give us.
Awesome. And
So,
Ruth, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Radhika and Brian has said everything, and I just also wanted to add educating females too, gender equality, and yeah, the more people are available to take up these challenges and solve these problems, the better for all of us. So I don't really have much to say on that.
Yeah, well, I have to say, like, thank you. It's been like a pleasure for me to be able to have you all here together and think about these issues. I think I'm very lucky and privileged to get the opportunity to see the work that you're doing. And I think we do need in general, like more startups like yours that are developing these innovative products that are really trying to understand what's the pain point of the users, what's the actual problem, and develop these products that responds to those problems. So yeah, I just really think we need to keep working on that. So to be able to see, like, as the companies evolve, what are the continuous challenges that you have, and that you continue to able to respond to that, and how we explained here that basically by building financial inclusion and well-being, we're actually working towards climate adaptation and just also well-being of people overall and peace of mind. That it's a lot of studies are related to how when people have financial well-being, they have peace of mind. So thank you, Brian, Radhika, and Ruth. It's been a pleasure to speaking with you, and yeah, excited to see what's next in the horizon for your businesses.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie.